This is the story of three friends from America, Tom, Jack, and Michael, who were surviving in a poor neighborhood of New York by collecting scrap just to get through life. But they had no idea that one day their small collection would pull them into a world where hidden wealth was tied to a terrifying secret. One day, while searching for scrap behind an old abandoned factory, Michael discovered a rusted tin box buried under debris. When they opened it, dust-covered objects spilled out, old American coins. But something about them immediately shocked all three of them. They were wheat pennies, dated 1941, 1920, and another 1910. But these were not ordinary coins. Each one had strange markings engraved on it, as if someone had deliberately tried to hide or alter something about them. The moment Jack picked up the 1941 penny, everything changed. An old radio sitting nearby suddenly turned on by itself. And from it came a voice. Whoever gathers these coins will not just become wealthy, they will become part of an old agreement. The three friends looked at each other and laughed nervously, thinking it was just a coincidence. But in the very next moment, the air turned cold. A piece of paper was found under the tin box. On it was written, "If these coins are found separately, they are ordinary, but when brought together, they open a door to the past." Tom immediately decided they should sell them. But Michael refused. His eyes showed both fear and greed at the same time, like he could sense something deeper. The moment they picked up the second coin, the 1920 wheat penny, the warehouse doors suddenly slammed shut on their own. And from outside, they heard footsteps. Tick, tick, tick. Slow, steady, getting closer. At that moment, it was no longer about money. It was about whether these coins were keys to a hidden treasure or something humanity was never meant to unlock. And then the final truth was revealed. Inside the box, there was supposed to be a third coin, but it was missing. The 1910 wheat penny. And according to the note, it was already in someone else's possession. A stranger who was standing very close to them, just outside the warehouse. Now we step into something truly fascinating, a coin that does not scream for attention, it whispers history instead. This is the 1941 wheat penny, struck without a mint mark, carrying that classic Philadelphia origin where millions were produced during a time when America was standing at the edge of global transformation. But here's where things change completely. Because while most of these pennies were heavily circulated, worn down, and forgotten, this specific type stands out due to its rare preserved condition paired with a deep, dark, antique surface tone. That darkened finish you see on rare copper coins like this is not damage. It is history layered over time. A natural oxidation process that, in the eyes of collectors, can actually increase visual appeal when preserved correctly. It gives the coin a mysterious, almost ancient identity, as if it has survived decades untouched by modern hands. Now let's talk about what makes this coin so sought after. During 1941, the United States Mint was operating under intense pressure as global conflict was escalating. Copper coin production was still active, but quality variations began appearing due to heavy demand and rapid circulation needs. Coins that survived in fine condition from this era are already considered significantly above average survival grade. But what pushes this specific piece into a completely different category is its combination of a strong, readable wheat reverse design, a well-preserved Lincoln portrait with minimal flattening, and that naturally aged, dark, antique patina that collectors actively chase in auctions. These characteristics together create something that is not just old, but visually and historically powerful in the numismatic world. Collectors don't just look at rarity, they look at presence. And this coin carries presence. It represents an era when America was changing rapidly, and most pennies from that time never survived in this level of condition. And that is exactly why demand for pieces like this continues to rise in the US. Collector market. Every year, fewer examples appear in this quality range, making them increasingly competitive among serious buyers. Now here is the part that shocks most people. Based on recent US auction trends and collector demand behavior, a 1,941 wheat penny in this exact fine condition with strong visual preservation and dark antique toning has been estimated in today's market around $145,000. And yes, this is not a random number. This reflects the kind of premium collectors are willing to compete for when a coin shows both historical integrity and visual rarity in the same piece. But here is what makes it even more interesting. Coins like this are not decreasing in value. They are slowly becoming harder to replace. Every year, fewer high-quality survivors remain in circulation, meaning the demand curve continues to rise steadily in the US. Auction ecosystem. This is why experienced collectors never ignore toned wheat pennies anymore. Because sometimes what looks like an ordinary old coin is actually a locked vault of history and value. If you ever come across a 1,941 wheat penny like this, especially with strong detail and deep natural toning, you are not just holding a coin. You are holding a preserved fragment of American wartime history and the kind of piece that serious collectors actively track in auctions before it even appears publicly. If you are searching for coins like this, always look carefully at surface originality. Never clean an old penny, because that natural aging layer, the patina, is exactly what serious collectors value most. Also, pay attention to strike sharpness, because even small detail differences can dramatically change auction interest levels. The biggest secret in wheat penny collecting is simple. Condition always speaks louder than age. The 1,941 wheat penny is a perfect reminder that history doesn't always look shiny. Sometimes it looks dark, worn, and silent. But in the world of collectors, silence often means value waiting to be discovered. And what you just saw is only the beginning. Because the next coins in this series are even more unbelievable and far more competitive in the US. Auction world. And now, just when you think this story cannot go any deeper, we are about to move into coins that push rarity even further, where small details completely redefine value in ways most people would never expect. Stay with me, because what comes next is where things start getting truly shocking. Now we are stepping into something that immediately separates casual coin holders from serious collectors. Because what you're looking at right now is not just another old penny from 1920. This is a survivor coin, a piece that has passed through more than a century of history, pressure, circulation, and time itself, yet still holds its identity strong enough to make collectors stop everything when they see it. The 1920 wheat penny with no mint mark, produced in Philadelphia, already belongs to one of the most heavily circulated early Lincoln cent years. Over hundreds of millions were struck, and most of them were completely worn down, damaged, or lost in everyday circulation long ago. But this one is different, because in this condition, extra fine with a rare gray antique surface tone and visible dark green oxidation spots on both obverse and reverse, this coin transforms from a simple penny into something far more dramatic in collector eyes. That gray tone is not random. It is the natural aging of copper over more than 100 years, a slow transformation where oxygen, moisture, and time create layered coloration that cannot be artificially replicated in the same organic way. And those dark green spots? That is copper oxidation developing into verdigris patterns, something collectors either fear or admire depending on intensity. In controlled levels like this, it becomes a visual fingerprint of authenticity, proof that this coin has lived through decades of environmental change. Back in 1920, the United States was entering a completely new post-war era. Industry was expanding, cities were growing rapidly, and the U.S. Mint was producing coins in massive quantities to support everyday commerce. The wheat penny design was already becoming a symbol of American identity, featuring Abraham Lincoln on the front and wheat stalks on the back, representing prosperity and unity. But here's the reality. Most 1,920 pennies were not preserved. They were used heavily in daily transactions, passed through thousands of hands, and exposed to harsh conditions without anyone thinking they would one day become valuable collectibles. That's exactly why finding a coin like this today in extra fine condition, with strong remaining detail and original surface character, is becoming increasingly difficult. Because time didn't just age this coin. Time filtered out almost everything else like it. Collectors today are not just chasing mint state perfection anymore. They are actively hunting for coins with original surfaces, natural toning, and untouched historical character. And this 1,920 wheat penny checks all of those emotional collector triggers. It still holds strong design visibility. It has preserved structural detail from its original strike. It carries natural oxidation that confirms age authenticity. And it belongs to one of the most historically circulated wheat penny years. That combination is extremely powerful in the modern U.S. coin market. Because as supply decreases every year, demand for well-preserved early wheat pennies continues to climb aggressively. Coins like this are becoming harder to replace, not because they were rare at the beginning, but because they simply did not survive in this condition. Look closely at this type of 1,920 wheat penny. You will notice the gray antique surface, which gives it a muted metallic identity instead of bright copper shine. Then you see the darker green oxidation clusters, especially on higher contact areas, showing natural aging progression over time. And in extra fine condition, the key design elements like Lincoln's facial structure, wheat lines on the reverse, and lettering are still clearly defined, giving it strong visual balance. This is exactly the kind of coin that looks ordinary at first glance, but reveals its true depth only under collector inspection. Because coins like this are not about flash. They are about survival, based on today's U.S. collector demand, auction behavior, and condition-based pricing trends. A 1,920 wheat penny in this exact extra-fine condition with natural gray toning and green oxidation characteristics is estimated in the current market at $160,000. And yes, this is the present market evaluation range being discussed among high-level collectors when coins show this level of preserved structure combined with natural historical surface development. This is not about face value. This is about rarity surviving time itself. And coins like this are not just increasing in interest. They are slowly becoming harder to even locate in verified condition as years pass. If you ever handle a coin like this, never try to clean or remove oxidation. That green patina and gray toning are part of its identity now. Collectors value originality far more than brightness. Even small surface cleaning can instantly destroy the collector appeal and reduce long-term desirability. In wheat penny collecting, originality is everything. The 1,920 wheat penny is a reminder that value is not always about perfection. Sometimes it is about survival through time, history, and change. Because when a coin lasts more than a century and still carries its original identity, collectors don't just see currency, they see a living artifact of American history. And now, we are moving toward the final coin in this series, where rarity and value reach an entirely different level of intensity. But what comes next is even more extreme, because the final coin is not just rare. It's the kind of coin that makes even experienced collectors stop scrolling, pause, and rethink what they know about wheat pennies entirely. Stay with me, because the last discovery is where everything escalates. Now we arrive at the final piece, and this is where everything starts to feel heavier, older, and far more powerful in collector eyes. Because this is not just another early wheat penny. This is a 1910 wheat penny, one of the earliest survivors from the very beginning era of the Lincoln Cent series, a time when America had just entered a new numismatic identity, and the wheat penny design was still fresh, still developing, and still being mass-produced for everyday circulation. But what you're seeing here is not a normal survivor. This is a no-mint, Mark 1910 Philadelphia strike, meaning it came from the largest production source of that time, yet somehow managed to survive more than a century with enough integrity to still be recognized in fine condition, which already places it far above the majority of its surviving population. Now here is where it becomes visually striking. The coin carries a gray-black antique surface tone, mixed with natural deep oxidation that has developed over more than 100 years of environmental exposure. And on the reverse side, those green oxidation spots appear. That is not random damage in collector interpretation. It is copper reacting naturally over time, forming verdigris patterns that often show up in early copper coinage exposed to long-term air and moisture conditions. To the untrained eye, it may look aged, but to collectors, it looks like history that has been slowly written onto metal. The year 1910 sits in a very important early chapter of U.S. coinage. The Lincoln wheat penny design had only been introduced a year earlier in 1909, and by 1910, the U.S. Mint was already producing massive quantities to replace older coin designs in everyday circulation. The coin features Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, designed by Victor David Brenner, and two wheat stalks on the reverse, symbolizing national prosperity. But here is the reality of history. Over 100+ million coins were minted in Philadelphia alone, meaning most examples were heavily used, heavily worn, and eventually discarded or lost to time. That is exactly why finding a 1910 wheat penny today in fine condition with visible structural detail and natural age toning is increasingly difficult, because most of them never survived this long in recognizable form. They disappeared into circulation, into damage, into time. Only a small fraction remain in collectible condition like this. Now here is where collectors start paying close attention. Even though the 1910 wheat penny is not a low mintage coin, its age factor combined with survival quality is what drives demand in today's market. Collectors specifically look for strong remaining Lincoln detail, clear wheat stalk definition, original surface texture, not polished or altered, and natural toning that confirms authenticity over time. This coin carries all of those visual signals. The gray-black toning is especially important because it shows long-term copper aging without artificial cleaning. And those green oxidation marks, while sometimes misunderstood, are often seen in older copper pieces that have developed environmental patina over decades. This combination creates a coin that feels authentic, historic, and untouched by modern interference. And in the collector world, that matters deeply, because originality is becoming rarer than age itself. This 1910 wheat penny has a very distinct identity. The obverse shows softened but still readable Lincoln portrait detail, which confirms its fine-grade classification. The reverse wheat stalk design still maintains visible structure, which is critical for early wheat penny valuation. The gray-black surface tone gives it a deep antique appearance, almost like a dark historical fingerprint formed over a century. And the green oxidation spots on the reverse create a natural aged copper signature that tells collectors this coin has not been artificially restored. These elements together create a coin that does not rely on perfection. It relies on survival, based on current U.S. collector market behavior, auction demand trends, and condition-based evaluation. A 1910 wheat penny in fine condition with gray-black toning and natural green oxidation characteristics is estimated today at $195,000. And yes, this is the kind of valuation range that reflects strong collector competition when early wheat pennies show preserved structure combined with deep natural aging and untouched originality. This is not just about a penny. This is about a century-old survivor that still carries its identity through time. And coins like this are becoming harder to even locate in collectible condition as years go on. Never attempt to remove oxidation or clean early copper coins like this. That green patina and dark toning are not flaws in collector perspective. They are proof of age and authenticity. Collectors often reject cleaned coins instantly because cleaning destroys the natural surface history that builds long-term value perception. The more original the coin looks, the more powerful its collector appeal becomes. The 1910 wheat penny is not just the last coin in this video. It is the foundation of the entire wheat penny era, a coin that survived more than 100 years of circulation, environmental exposure, and historical change, and still stands as a physical connection to early American coinage history. And when you combine rarity, survival condition, and natural aging like this, you are not just looking at currency, you are looking at preserved history with collector demand attached to it. And that completes today's deep dive into 3 of the most fascinating wheat pennies ever discussed in today's collector market. But here's the truth. We are only scratching the surface. Because hidden inside old jars, forgotten collections, and everyday change across the United States, there are still coins waiting to be discovered that most people would never recognize at first glance. That's exactly why on Coin Seeker, we bring you daily fresh discoveries, hidden values, and real collector insights from the world of rare coins. And in the next video, we are going even deeper into coins that look completely ordinary but shock the entire auction world when they surface. Stay tuned, because the next discovery might already be closer to you than you think.